You probably wouldn't believe how much extra traffic you can get to one of your old blog posts just by doing something as simple as going into it and breaking up kind of large blocks of text. Like, honestly, it's impressive. Hey everybody, Eric from Hit Subscribe here, and what I'm going to be talking to you today about is how, as part of a blog post refurbishment, you can specifically go in and break up large blocks of text in blog posts in different ways to great effect. So why would you want to do this? Well, as I mentioned at the get-go, when you do this, it actually helps a lot with some of what are called ranking factors in Google. So it makes people who find your page via Google search more likely to stay on the page, more likely to read further, and more likely to engage with other parts of your site. This is actually true. My company, Hit Subscribe, we do this for a lot of different clients, and we actually literally record the results of doing this in terms of traffic for our clients and rankings in Google. And just these techniques that I'm going to show you here today do actually help a good bit. So if you would like to learn how to take some of your posts that may be doing okay in terms of organic traffic and to give them a goose as part of a blog post refresh, I'm going to show you a bunch of different techniques for how to break up text in a way that will make readers want to stick around and read your blog. So stay tuned for that. Okay, now before I actually get started on the tips, and don't worry, that will be soon, I want to show you kind of why you would do this. Now here's a blog post I wrote on my blog, Dead Tech. Why is staff aug a dirty term? Now this post could use a wholesale refurbishment, which I went through how to build a checklist for that in a video I did a while back. This is just one of the parts of that, breaking up the text, but I'm going to use this old-ish post to show you why you should do this. All right, so let's take a look through this post, and imagine you just land here on Google, which a lot of people do. It's a good post for me, but it could be better. So if you look through it, you got a graphic in here, you got some headings, some links. You might be thinking, some of these paragraphs maybe look kind of long, but on the whole, not bad. We got a few pictures. What's the big deal? Well, let me show you something. This is what it looks like. I have zoomed in a little, but this is what it looks like on a 21-inch monitor that I'm looking at on my desktop. But if we go into, I'm going to hit F12 here, and that takes us into what is called console tools or developer tools for the browser. And there's this thing you can toggle here, and basically it lets you see what this is like when you view it from one of these devices. So here we've got an iPhone X. So what didn't really look like a whole lot of text, now as you scroll through and imagine you're reading this from your phone, yeah, you got these pictures in here, but you've just got walls and walls of text. So people that are reading this on their phone, remember, this isn't a 10th grade literature assignment that we're going to do a term paper on. People are reading this while they're waiting for the bus or something. And when you're waiting for the bus, you want scannable content as a searcher. You don't really want to see this. This looks like a homework assignment. And what that does is it makes people bounce. They read partway through the page and they leave without engaging anything else on your site. Or even they do what's called pogo sticking. They get to the page, take one look at it, and go right back to the search engine just because they see this homework assignment. When they do that, that is an absolutely negative ranking factor. Google doesn't like that, nor do Bing or any of the others you might use. So there is our motivation. We want to break this up and we want to make this look like kind of a more approachable experience, not just on mobile, but in general. And the way you do that is by adding a bunch of different features to give it some visual variety while still preserving the flow of the text. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do. So let's get started. All right, to do that, what I'm going to do is actually exit the search tools. So we're just looking at this kind of in preview again. And you saw what that looked like there. I'm going to hold on to that clip and show it to you again at the end when we've gone through and applied these techniques, but I'll also show you what it's doing as we go. So here in a new tab, I am going to open up the WordPress editor, and I am going to engage technique number one, probably the simplest one of all. Technique number one is adding a header. So you can see that I've got these headers. These are H3s. I've got these throughout the post. I'm not going to revisit the whole header scheme, but what I'll do is maybe find a way to add one of these. And in looking at this post, I do a bit of a hook here, and then I go on to define staff augmentation in this next little section. So why not add a header to that effect? So staff augmentation, a definition. And it's as simple as that. You can go and do this in more places. You don't want to maybe go too overboard and have a header every other sentence, but usually the more headers, the better. It makes the text scannable, keeps people reading. So that is thing number one. It's going to be pretty easy for you to picture this, so I'm going to skip doing a preview and just go on to thing number two. All right, number two is to add bolded or highlighted text. And now you can actually go in here and, Control B, and I mean, probably you wouldn't want to do it midway through a word, but you can actually make text bold or underline it. You can do features like that. So keep that in mind. Do that where judicious, or do that judiciously, I should say. But what I'm going to show you here is a slightly more advanced version, just so you have that in your head. And I am actually going to make use of the Polo Quote feature. So what I've got here is a paragraph, and in the middle of it, I have this definition from Wikipedia. So what if instead of just having this as kind of an inline paragraph, I went in and I said, Wiki attempts to utterly crush readers' souls by calling it, and I'm going to add a quotation here. I'm going to take this out for the sake of grammar and re-add it like this. So now I have kind of a more standalone quote. I'm going to hit enter and then define another paragraph there. And now I've kind of isolated this, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw it into a block quote. And this still reads the same. So staff aug abbreviates the longer form staff augmentation. Wiki attempts to utterly crush readers' souls by calling it. And then I have the quote and then the next sentence. And so just like that, with really not changing any text, I just added some brackets to this word and shifted the quotation marks. And that's it. And I'm going to hit preview changes here. And now, so here's the original post, which even in the large browser doesn't have a ton of variance in the beginning. Well, now we've got a lot of kind of features to break up the monotony. So we're off to a good start just with things 1 and 2. I'm going to go ahead and update this on the blog, so you'll also see it reflected here if I do a refresh. All right, item 3, we're going to look for bucket brigade opportunities. What is a bucket brigade? Well, I believe this originally refers to a practice where, in the 1800s, before there were mobile fire trucks, not a fire history expert, but what you would do is get a whole bunch of people out. They'd kind of stand in a line, hand each other buckets, assembly line style, to put out fires. That was how fires got put out, with these so-called bucket brigades. Naturally, we take that and we apply it to blog posts. I didn't come up with this. But the idea is you want to form a bucket brigade throughout the blog post to keep people reading. And for some reason, what this refers to is inserting what I'll call teasers into the text. So let me show you. Back here in edit mode, you kind of scan through, and what I'm going to highlight here is this, this particular 3-word sentence. And I'm going to go and I'm going to throw a carriage return in here and make this work out, and then I'm going to give it an update, and let's take a look at this now. In the browser, we won't go back to the mobile mode. Now, what you've got, if you're scanning through this, and really this is how people read, remember, bus stop, you're probably not always reading things sequentially. You're scanning for headers and graphics and infographics and stuff, and then your eyes see something like this. And what you naturally think as a reader at the bus stop is, don't believe me. I wonder what's in this paragraph that I won't believe. And I wonder what's in this next paragraph that will make me believe it. So this is what's known as a bucket brigade, and it's a good way to kind of increase that time on the page and to keep people reading, to sprinkle these throughout the post, little teasers that are going to make them, their eyes will wander down to it, and it will sort of snap them back up to keep reading in sequence because you're enticing them. So that's item 3. We would go through the post and insert more of these bucket brigades where appropriate as part of this refurbishment. Okay, item 4, probably the easiest thing to understand in all of this, up there with adding headings. We want to break up anything that is longer than 3 sentences, and you can even break up some things that are shorter than that. Now, I know you're rebelling. Mentally, I did for a long time. I am a verbose person. I like my big paragraphs, and I used to think, hey, you are not going to dumb down my stuff. I don't care. I want to write to the college reading level and so on and so forth. But remember, bus stop. We are at the bus stop. We're not writing a literature or a piece of literary art. So you want to keep people on the page. You want to break up paragraphs like this. And you can actually do this relatively indiscriminately. So you might come in here and say, like, you don't just want to break them up without thinking about it. But anything that kind of seems like it would be okay to break up, it probably will be. Err on the side of just going ahead with it. So I say check out this post, and in 2015 they declared it dead. I'm actually just going to isolate this quote on its own paragraph, and then this last sentence. And if I go and I hit update and I refresh again, you're going to start to see an even more broken up kind of set of text that draws the eye. Now this is okay. It's not like you're going to be reading this and thinking to yourself, oh man, this is jarring. This should all be one paragraph. It can look a little thin, but it's not too bad. What I will do now is go back to our developer tools and show you how, when you're reading this from a smaller device in a narrower way, this actually doesn't seem like a big deal at all. So now look at this, and this thing that seemed a little excessively short, like this quote alone on your phone is 4 lines. So when you have this whole paragraph, we're talking, what is that, 8, something like 11 or 12 lines. And even this paragraph at the beginning starts to look kind of long, even though once we get out of here, it's a 3-liner. So keep in mind, people are reading this on all sorts of different resolutions and different devices, and you want the reading experience to be sort of smooth and scannable on any of those devices, because mobile is increasingly important in rank factors, and it's where a lot of people are visiting your site. So that's thing number 4. Okay, so again, this is one we're not going to do throughout the post, but item 5 is we're going to start getting visual, and we're going to add graphics. And I won't belabor this point, but if I just kind of scroll through here and I'm looking at where there seems to be a lot of text, I'm just going to maybe pick somewhere and like looks and quacks. So looking and quacking, maybe I'll add something. Now, I am fortunate enough to have a wife who is an excellent artist, and she sketches me these pictures. I have photos in my media library, I have the sketches, and I have years of this going back. So I have my own just built-in library to choose from. So I'm seeing walking and quacking, duck. So here's I think like a submersible duck vehicle, and here's a duck that's been exposed to radiation. Let's just put this guy in here. That's a little big, so we're going to center align, and I'm going to make him a little smaller. And then I'm just going to hit update. And what you want to do is insert those. So your whole goal is to break up, every few hundred words, you want to break this up with something. It can be a heading, it can be an image, it can be a feature like a pull quote that I did, or bolding. You just want variety. And so you can go through here and add some variety by, where'd my duck go? Oh, this is preview. So we refresh, and here's our variety, and there's the duck in there. Now, if you want to get a little advanced about it, I don't do this on dead text because the text is pretty narrow, but you can also left and right align, and what you will wind up with, I'll just do this in a preview and then revert it, but you'll wind up with this kind of thing where the text is offset to the right. Another excellent way to break up the monotony of just lots of text. If it makes sense for your blog, do it. If you're going to do that, though, make sure you kind of check it out in different resolutions, because you don't want something where the words, on the side of the screen are like 4 characters wide or something. So be a little bit careful with that. I'm going to revert it because I just never do this on my blog. And we'll give that an update, and that is item 5. Now, item 6. A similar kind of thing. Item 6 is the pull quote, which is a special kind of graphic. It's where you take a particularly compelling little quote or statement from your post, and you turn it into a graphic like so. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, and I'm going to actually do it here to break things up a little more. I have actually already imported this one, but if you want to see where that sausage is made, I have this tool Canva that I use. Well, actually, my wife, that's whose login this is, she uses it. She's really good with it. She just lets me tag along, and she sets up these pull quote templates for me so that I can go in and make these say whatever I want, and then I save them, I download them, and assuming this were one I wanted to keep, I then just drag them into WordPress. They become part of the media library, and so back here I can actually go in and do an update. And now when I refresh this guy, I've got this pull quote in here, further breaking up the text. Now, pull quotes are really cool because they kind of highlight and emphasize what you're saying, and they sort of also serve as a giant bucket brigade. And that is a nice kind of twofer with this way of breaking things up. I will briefly mention, although this is not really super on topic, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention, when you're editing this, so we would probably want to center align it, you generally want to go in here and actually add this. Why should he make so much more when you do better work? You want to add alt text so that the search engines know what this says. Number one, that's just a good thing to do for people, people who can't see, that are reading the page that are on the page and having it read to them for visual cues. That's what it's telling them what's in the picture. It's also good for your search engine optimization, especially if you're using a keyword in one of your pull quotes, which I would do, by the way, if you get the chance. Didn't do it here because that's not really the focus, but it's worth mentioning. So that's the pull quote, and that wraps up text breaking up item 6. All right, item 7, the final thing that I'll cover here is, I guess, a little bit subtle. I think of this maybe as a slightly more advanced technique, although you may disagree. But basically, what you want to do is you want to go through and look for paragraphs that you can turn into bullet points or numerical bullets, numbers. Now, what that might look like is, well, let me show you one. We are here at one. So I am saying, let's now return to our 2 types of consulting firms, and then I enumerate them. So when you're doing something like that, you can break life up by saying 1 and 2, and then 1 and 2, and then we go on with the paragraph. I'm going to hit update, and I'll kind of show you the difference there. So you've got this kind of beefy piece of text under a subheading, and now we're working our way down with a lot more visual features and variety. So with this particular technique, you're going to want to look for a lot of paragraphs with commas in them. So listing like groups of items is good. Like, I went to the grocery store and picked up pickles and onions and burger patties and so on and so forth. If you are listing all that in a paragraph, turn that into a series of bullets. Sequence is great too. If you have a paragraph that says, first I went outside, then I got in my car, next I drove to the grocery store, and finally I picked up groceries. Make that into a 1, 2, 3, 4 bullet list to break up some text. So that is a great thing to look for. A bit more subtle, but it also helps a lot, and you'll get used to doing it. That is going to do it. So with those 7 tips in mind, let's go back, and I'm going to run, first of all, do a quick kind of scroll here through the original from footage I took earlier. You can see what a difference this makes on the iPhone. So I've got, this heading, I have a block quote, and then this is still a little long. I mean, it's better here. We could maybe use something here, but we got this graphic, we've got a pull quote, we got another graphic, we've got this list, and that was all kind of done pretty quickly just for the sake of showing you this. This is still, it could use some work. But if you go back through and you do all of that in a post, throughout the post, you'll have a very scannable piece of content that's going to do a lot better in organic search because people are going to stick around longer. And it may seem like a lot at first, but as you get used to these techniques, you can just work your way through a post and sort of intuitively know what to add and where, and just do it in one kind of sequential swoop, like, oh, I think we could use a pull quote here. This guy could be a list. I'm going to add a graphic here. You do get pretty good at this, and in no time, you will be able to make your posts a lot more scannable. All right, that's it. If you go off and do this, I can't promise you that you're going to, work wonders on every post. If you have a post that's doing nothing in organic search, all of the scannability in the world isn't going to make Google like that post. But if you've got something that's hovering at the edge of the top 10 for a result, for a SERP, or if you've got something that's maybe in that 4 or 5 spot and you go through and give it one of these, you can definitely expect some bump in the rankings. May not happen on every post, but taken in aggregate, it will make a big difference. And it does and has for our clients and the sites that we maintain and edit. This stuff really does work. So go in and give it a try if you've got a post that's sort of marginally ranking and you'd like to dress it up and see if you can't do a little better. So that's going to be it for today. If you know of any other ways that you like to break up text in your posts, if this is something you do, please weigh in the comments. That isn't just me driving the YouTube algorithm to try to have engagements. Like, I actually want to know this because we do this for people. So your thoughts and techniques are absolutely welcome. The usual things apply. If you want more of these videos kind of delivered to you notification-wise, feel free to give us a subscribe and then hit that bell, which will tell you, or it'll notify you for every video that comes out. Of course, we would love it if you gave us a like. If you don't like it, you can give us a dislike. Engage however you please. I'd like to know also in the comments if there are any topics you'd like to see covered, because I will prioritize those. Otherwise, I will keep doing these in general because it's fun, and I think it's probably helpful for our authors and some of our clients, if nobody else. So that's going to do it. Thank you, as always, for watching, and I will catch you next time.